In this video, I'm going to go over SolidWorks and specifically SolidWorks 2025 because it just came out. And we're going to do a tutorial to get you started with SolidWorks and 3D modeling in general. And so this video is directed for people who have not used SolidWorks before and also people who have never used any sort of engineering CAD 3D modeling software before. So the level of this video is starting out very, very, very much a beginner level. My name is Taysir and I will be with you in this video. I've been using and teaching SolidWorks for over 15 years now, and our learners count have surpassed 100,000, which is something we're very, very, very proud of, and we're very lucky to have as well. I'm also the author of the Learn SolidWorks books published by Bucket Publishing. So let's go ahead and get started with this video. I'm going to split this video into 3 sections. The first one is we're going to talk about what parametric 3D modeling is in principle. And the reason we're going to do that is because I found out that if you know the foundation or what is behind SolidWorks or a software like SolidWorks in terms of how does the software think, it becomes much, much, much easier for you to grasp the software quicker and be able to do some pretty good things fairly quickly. So we're going to start with that. That's going to take a couple of minutes or so. And then we're going to go into the software itself and we're going to do some demo, a very quick one. And I'm going to walk you through the process in which you actually use SolidWorks. And then after that, we're going to conclude with some discussions and a couple of questions or common questions that I will try to answer. So, starting with the first part, what is parametric 3D modeling? So, parametric 3D modeling is basically the principle that guides the design process for a software like SolidWorks and also other parametric softwares like Fusion 360. And in a nutshell, it's basically geometry, right? So anything you've learned in school concerning geometry or trigonometry and all those nice things, they all apply in the software. And when you think about designing in the software, you should think geometry. And so all those relations you had in drawing shapes like parallel, perpendicular, and also all those measurements that you will put in those shapes that you used to draw, all those should come with you when you use a software like SolidWorks. And this has an advantage because the point of designing in a software like SolidWorks is to end up with physical products. And physical products need to go through manufacturing, need to go through multiple people who need to interpret those shapes. And one of the best ways to interpret shapes is to use geometry. And so this is the advantage of parametric modeling. And this is the principle that will guide our work in SolidWorks. So that's about it for parametric modeling. Now we can move into the software. So I have the software open here on my screen, which you can see. This is the new SolidWorks 2025. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how to use SolidWorks by 3D modeling a simple table. And through that process, I'm going to explain the steps, the procedures, and the things that you should be mindful of. I will also reflect on the geometry part we talked about earlier. And so I will start with opening up a new file. And when you do that, you get 3 options. You can open up a part, an assembly, or a drawing. Usually we will start with parts. And a part is basically a single component you can think of. Like, you had this thermos here, or this water bottle. This could be considered a single part. This could be another part. This is just simplifying. There's actually more than one part here and more than one part here, but just wanted to give you an example. Similar thing with this one here. This is the cover of a teapot that I have in my table, and this consists of two parts. This black thing is a part, and this metal thing is another part. I guess it's probably a screwdriver in between them. That screwdriver, or sorry, not a screwdriver, a screw or something in between them, and that screw would be another part. And so in the parts document, you can design each of those separately. And then in the assembly document, which is the next one, is you take those different parts and you put them together to form an assembly. And in the drawing document is where you can produce those 2D engineering drawings that you can print out and you give to other people. Could be the manufacturer, could be the quality assurance team, could be your boss, your teammates, whoever. And so those are the different document parts or the different document types. And we're going to start with a part. So I'll click on parts and then click on OK. Now we have a part open. You can see the interface that we have in the software. I'll talk through this really quickly. So here in the middle, you have what I call the canvas, which is basically how your shape looks like. And here on the left, you have the design tree, and this shows all the steps that you make when you're making designs. And on top, you have the commands, and this is those are the commands we will be using to create whatever shape we want. And so let's go ahead and get started. In the left, you will notice there are three planes. And when I hover over them, they will be shown in the canvas. One way to understand the canvas is an infinite 3D space. And so when you are trying to create an object in that infinite 3D space, you need to anchor your object toward something that is fixed. And in this 3D space we have, the only fixed thing we have is the origin. And then we have those planes that kind of go around the origin as well. And so every time we start, we always start with a new plane. So this is the first step we do, is we start a new plane, and then we create a sketch on that new plane, and then we apply a feature on that sketch we created. And then we just go on cycle. So let's do this real quick. I'm going to pick the top plane as my plane. So that's step number one, to pick a plane. Now I've selected this, I can go to sketch and then select the sketch command right here. And this will get me to the sketch mode. You'll notice in the design tree, we have a sketch open called sketch 1. And those are the commands I will use for sketching. So I want to use this command, the central rectangle. So I'll click on it, go here, and you'll notice this point in the middle is the origin. So one tip I will give you, or the first step I'm going to give you, is always start your sketches with the origin, so you can anchor whatever you're creating toward that fixed point in our infinitely big 3D space. And so I will click on the origin, and I'm going to move the mouse. You'll notice I have a rectangle forming. I will click again, and that would be my rectangle. And so now I'm creating a table, and this is going to be the top of the table. So I have my rectangle. Now I need to dimension it. Remember, we're talking geometry right here, and geometry have a preference toward measuring our sketches, whatever and whatever else we draw. And so I'm going to go to the Smart Dimension command and then click on this line right here. And I'm going to give this one a specific dimension. Notice that the unit I have is millimeter, and that's the units I use. And so I've set up my SolidWorks to be as such. However, I can also change the units in the way I want, even when I just type in the measurement. So for me, I actually understand tables in meters better. So I'm just going to type in 1.5 meters. I'll just type in 1.5, and then here you'll see units. I can find meter, select that, and then click on the check mark. And you'll notice it's switched to 1500, which is 1500 millimeters. I'll do the same thing here. This one is going to be 0.75 meters or 750 millimeters. So that's my second step. We've already selected a plane. We have created a sketch. And now we're going to apply a feature. And so I'll go to the Features tab here and then select this Extruded Boss feature. This gives me a preview over my feature. I have my thickness as 10 millimeters by default. However, I want to make it a little bit bigger. I'll just make it, let's say, 100 millimeters. Or maybe that's too big. Let's do 80 millimeters. And you can see my preview here in my canvas. And if I like it, I can click on the green check mark. And that gives me the top of my table. And so now we've done a single circle or a single cycle. We've selected a plane. That was step number 1. We have created a sketch. That's step number 2. And then we applied a feature. That's step number 3. And that usually gives us a 3D object, which is this one we have. To make more of that, or to build more on this tabletop, I can go back and do the whole thing all over again. I will select a plane, do a sketch, then apply a feature. So let's do that again to create the legs. So this time I will not do those default planes because now we have new planes as well. Every planar surface that you have in your model can also act as a plane. And so I'm going to click on this planar surface right here. I'll go to Sketch, then select Sketch again. And now I will do the legs. So this time I will do a corner rectangle. So I have different rectangles here. I'll do the corner one. And I will draw my leg like this. And you notice these green marks right here. And this is also a part of the geometry part we talked about. And so if I hover over this one, it says vertical, and it highlights the line next to it. It means that this line is a vertical line. This one here says horizontal. It means this line is a horizontal line. Here you have another point or another sign that says coincident, which means that this point of the rectangle is coincident with that vertex of the tabletop. Now I want to create my leg to be a square. And so a square should have both sides equal each other. And so I can apply that geometrical relation. I will click on this line, and then I'll click on Control in my keyboard, and then click on this other line, and then in the side, I'll have this option to add relations. And what I want is to apply an equal relation because I want those two sides to equal each other. And when I do this, you'll notice a new relation pops up. And if I hover over it, I'll have two lines being highlighted, and it says that those two lines are equal length. It means if I drag the sketch around, now it expands, keeping this relation intact, as in those lines being equal to each other. So now I'm going to dimension one of them only. And so I'll click on one. I'm going to click on this one. And when I click on it, you'll notice that the dimension pops up immediately. And that's a shortcut that they've added recently in SolidWorks. And now I can dimension it. And let's say I want this one to be, let's say 100 millimeters for now. So now I have one leg. However, I want this leg to repeat on the other three corners, but I already have one. So instead of creating more, I can simply mirror this one to all the other sides. And so I'll create a center line. A center line like this, and a center line like this. I got the center line from the line command right here. So if I expand the line command, I have the option to draw a line, a center line, or a midpoint line. And so now I have my center line. I'll go to another command, which is mirror entities. And then I will select the entities to mirror, which is this rectangle or this square. And then I will mirror it about the center line. And I have a preview in the other side. I click on OK. And now I have it done. Now I can mirror them again to the lower side. Mirror command again. I want to mirror this and this. And I will copy them around this line. I have my preview. Click on the green check mark. And now I have my sketch. So now that's step number 2. Again, create a plane or select a plane, create a sketch, and now we apply a feature. And so I'll go to features again, go to extruded boss, and increase this length. Let's say I want to have it as 400 millimeters. I can also type in 0.4 meters if that makes it easier for you to understand. I can just do 0.4 and then M, and that also will automatically convert it to millimeters. I'm happy with that. I can go ahead and click on the green check mark. Now I have the shape and the structure of a table using two features. I can add more into it doing the exact same cycle again. Create or select a plane, create a sketch, and then apply a feature. So let's just say that I want to have a hole in the middle of this table. Let's go ahead and do this real quick. I'll select this top surface, planar surface. Again, every planar surface is a plane. And then I'll go to sketch mode. And I'll use the offset command this time. So we select the offset entities and then select this entire surface. I'll reverse and then I'll increase that to, let's say 200 millimeters. and then I'll click on the green check mark. So the offset, before I move on, the offset basically is a shortcut command that help you make sketches based on existing edges or existing boundaries. And so this new rectangle I have is 200 millimeters away from the edge. And that's what offset means. So I click on the green check mark, and now I have my other sketch. Now I want to apply a feature. I'll go to features, and this time I'll do a cut instead of an extrude. So I'll go extruded cut, and I want to cut through the entire table. So in this end condition option, I will select through all and then click on the green check mark. And so now I have a hole in the middle of my table. And that's basically it, how you use SolidWorks. It is that simple. It's just the same circle or the same cycle, and you go over it over and over again. And the more you apply, the more features you apply, the more cycles you do, you can often end up with a more complex looking model. And so the modeling procedure, for many people at least, is not as challenging as interpreting how a complex shape is made out of simple, small steps. And so for this little table, we have 3 features apply, which you can see them here on the left, listed in the design tree. And the design tree applies them or lists them in the order they were applied. And so we applied, the first one first, and then the second one second, and then the third one third. And this is really cool because it can show you a simple overview of all the steps, but it can also help you modify the shape that you have, because design is an iterative process. And so whichever you design it first, very, very likely you will need to modify it again. And having a design tree makes this really, really easy. Let's do an example really quick. Let's say I want to make my table a little bit wider. So the 750 should be maybe 1000. And so all I need to do is I can go back to my design tree, find the related sketch, which is this one, the first one. And here I have 750. I can double click on that and then change it to 1000. And then click on the green check mark. Yeah, now it's already updated and you can see a traffic light right here, which means you need to rebuild it. And so I'll click on rebuild here on top. And all of a sudden, the table got wider. And one thing to note here is that the legs all remained in the same place, which are the corners. And this is a really good thing about parametric modeling as well, because if your shapes are bounded together with relations, it means if you change the dimensions, those relations will still be active and will help glue the model together, as whatever change you make will not really screw up the entirety of your model. This is called design intent. It's a deeper topic that we're not going to talk about in this video. But other than that, that's pretty much it for how to use SolidWorks, at least if you are starting out. And you can, if you're here already, you've made the table with me, you can spend some time to play around with other features. You just do a random sketch and then do another feature, etc., etc., etc. Now, one might ask, or one question that you might be thinking is, this table is just one part, and ideally, if you want to manufacture it, it's going to be 5 different parts because each leg would be cut separately and the top would be cut separately as well. And yeah, it's not a problem. It's depend on your style of modeling. Usually when I design static structures like furniture, I would make them as a single part, but then I'll do something called multi-body part, or make it into one part first and then chop it up into an assembly. And that just makes it easier. It's called a top bottom modeling approach. Again, it's a deeper approach that we're not going to address in this video. Now I want to stop for a second to answer a couple of questions that I often get asked. And the first one is about being frustrated of the software itself. And that's something that if you are just starting out, one thing, of course, the software is overwhelming. I mean, you have all those planes, and then every feature creates new planes, and you have those tons and tons of commands on top. And just looking at those can make you feel a little bit overwhelmed, as in, where should you start from and how should you progress? Another thing that people tell me is frustration, or a sense of frustration in that you imagine something and you want to do it, but then the software doesn't act the way you want, or sometimes you apply features and the results are not what you're expecting, or a lot of times, which is even more than anything else, you try to modify a feature and then the entirety of the model get messed up. And that causes a lot of people, especially when you just starting to learn, to be really, really frustrated and then to quit. And to answer this, I have to be honest, and I'm going to say I'm sorry, but you will probably get that feeling. You must get that feeling, actually. I gotten that feeling before when I started learning. Most people, when they learn, they get the same feeling as well. However, there's one mindset that you need to keep in mind is that it is a learning process. And so there is really, especially when you're starting out, I would not recommend you to start thinking of right way or wrong way of doing things. As long as you're trying something, then you're good to go. And then, of course, being a practice of design, or having this as a part of design practice in general, design is really all about iterations. So you're going to iterate your design, you're going to modify, that's a must. And a lot of times, this can bring in a little bit of frustration, but that's just what it is. And sometimes it's better to have the mindset of just continuously growing and continuously trying and just enjoy that journey of iteration and growth. And so that's my answer to this. There are, of course, ways that you can rectify this. And one of the best ways to do it is through enrolling in a structured learning experiences. So, for example, if you're following my video or this video right here, you'll have less likelihood of getting into errors using those features we explored, right? This is if you use them for the first time. And so having a structured learning experience can help a little bit, but it will not prevent that pitfall of getting into errors, sometimes at least. And so if you would like to enroll in a course, that's another question I always get is it really worth it to enroll in a course if you can just play things on your own, or you can just watch a random YouTube video, etc.? And the answer to my answer, at least, is it really depends on you. I think in this day and age, and in all subjects, not just SolidWorks, you honestly do not need to enroll in any course ever because knowledge is just there. However, from my perspective, I do enroll in a lot of courses from other people, and I have a lot of people enroll in our courses as well. And the value of this, of courses, is that structure, that community, and also the time that you save. And so, if, for example, you're starting today with SolidWorks and you want to get into a professional level, you can surely do that on your own, but it might take you maybe 4 months or 5 months, and you'll get a lot of frustration on the way. However, if you enroll, let's say, with us or with another provider, you can actually do that entire thing in a month. So you're saving a lot of time, and you'll also get less frustrated along the journey. And you might also get some insider tips from people who have been doing the thing for quite some time in a really organized way that is streamlined to take you one step at a time. So that's really the true value of courses. And so, yes, if you can afford to enroll in a structured course, then that would be really, really helpful. You can also do books if you want. We have a book coming up called Learn SolidWorks 2025. It's already available in pre-order, and I'm going to link it in the comments or in the description below this video. And of course, if you're looking into courses, you can check out our platform, the school.tfordesign.com. We have a lot of pricing tiers that would almost work for everybody. So you can check that out as well if you're looking to get that structured journey. If not, then I would recommend you can just start playing around, and the more you play around, the more your skills will grow. That's about it for this video. Thanks a lot for being here, and I'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already.